You've got to be paying attention to it. This afternoon they're going to be talking about removing this ban on concealed carry in restaurants that serve alcohol. We need to let them know loud and clear that that ban needs to be repealed. I understand that they're going to be talking about changing the law that makes us criminals, makes my wife or my mother a criminal when they drive past. Well, my mother got her CCW, so she's not a criminal anymore. But my wife, if my wife is carrying a gun openly and she drives past a school, she's a federal criminal. Because she knows it's a school zone, she knows she has a gun, and the gun isn't unloaded and locked in the trunk because she's not licensed by the state to have that gun. That's just wrong, and we need to do something about it. Those hearings are... Thank you. Can we get an amen? Amen. Those hearings are going to be going on this afternoon, and we're going to be talking about that. The bottom line, the all-around, is that we're not the folks that people need to be concerned about, because the fact is, the folks that people need to be concerned about, they're going to do what they do no matter what their hoplophobic laws say. Criminals engage in criminal behavior. Crazy people do crazy things. And I will grant, yes, it's easier to kill someone with a gun than it is with a knife or a baseball bat. In Russia, they have a murder rate 4 times the murder rate in the United States. They have draconian gun control laws. They beat people to death with knives, with baseball bats, and stab them with knives in Russia if they can't get a gun. But they don't seem to have a whole lot of problem getting the guns. The fact is, the only people that obey gun laws are the people who obey all of the other laws, and the last time I checked, it's illegal to murder somebody. You guys are lagging here. That was a real applause line. When the applause lines come, I need you to jump right in there, okay? Because I've got to stop and take a breath. Man, I've got so much to say. It's like Ken said, giving you that microphone to a Baptist preacher or a Knox. I come from a long line of Church of Christ preachers, and once you get me started, it's hard to get me stopped. I want to tell you, though, just a little open carry story. In Arizona, they didn't have concealed carry for a long, long time. And when I was 23 years old, I looked about 12. I worked in a gun shop, and I was carrying this particular 45, as a matter of fact, every day, going to school in the afternoon. Arizona's laws were interesting. They said as long as a part of the gun or the holster is visible, it's legal. And so I had a jacket that the holster stuck out the bottom of the jacket, and I was perfectly legal. I had 2 valuables when I was 22, 23, 24 years old. A 1966 El Camino and a Series 70 Colt Commander in 45 ACP. Now, I was willing to leave that 1966 El Camino in the parking lot only because it wouldn't fit in the classroom. But there was no way I was going to leave my Colt Commander out in that car in the parking lot. So I would carry it with me. There was a school policy against doing so, but there wasn't a state law against doing so. And so if someone had asked me, which on one occasion somebody did, and I showed them that it was an empty holster on that day, and they quit asking me after that. But I carried a gun every day, almost every day, to my classes in college. Last year when we were out here on this square, I happened to overhear a young man talking about the Virginia Tech atrocity and saying that he believed that the police were ready, willing, and able to take care of such a situation and to protect him. I later, almost immediately, found out that this young man had actually been shot in the Virginia Tech tragedy. His name was Colin Ferguson, I believe. And I was so taken aback by his statement that that he believed that the police could protect him after what had just happened to him. I had to interject. I said, "Are you kidding me? How can you abdicate your responsibility that way?" Because the truth is, God bless the cops in the group, the truth is that in a life and death situation, when seconds count, the police are typically just minutes away. That's an applause line again, guys. The average gunfight lasts something under 5 seconds. The typical mass murder, which, let's face it, mass murder is not a typical thing. It happens occasionally, and it's a terrible, terrible thing. But we've had a couple of occasions over the last few years when that atrocity was stopped, and stopped pretty quickly, by somebody with a gun who happened to be present. When I was carrying a gun to college, I wasn't doing it because I was afraid some idiot was going to wander in and start shooting people. I was doing it because I was afraid some idiot was going to steal it out of my car and start shooting people or doing something else inappropriate with it. I would be out my gun and he would be armed in a way that I didn't really want him to be. I don't want it to make it easy for him. But the Second Amendment isn't about public safety. It isn't about the National Guard. It isn't about politicians, except keeping them in check. The Second Amendment is not just a right. It's not just about a right. It's about a responsibility, a duty. When the Second Amendment was written, we didn't have guys in uniform who patrolled our streets. We had neighbors. The Second Amendment is about your responsibility as a citizen of the United States to stand up for the Constitution of the United States, to ensure that you have the right to petition the government as you're doing today, to ensure that you have the right to go about your business not being harassed, not fearing as you do your daily activities. The Second Amendment is about the responsibility of looking out for your neighbors and your nation, and ultimately about making sure that the Constitution of the United States continues to always be the supreme law of the land. And that's what we're here to do today, folks. And I thank you for coming out today.